Nigeria to revive cocoa industry and its agricultural value chains.
Who sponsor careers to
rooted like palm tree, we sway in color. With Tandagi Diba, we bet solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than the solution.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria, with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance rice bran oil is rich in gamma-oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma-oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance oil. Good food, no worries.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
Emeka, you come into my home and you see me and my family enjoying our golden morn, and you still proceed to talk about business.
Emma, it is very, very serious.
Yes, so there is serious news. Introducing the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 with milk already inside for your creamy, nutritious enjoyment. Get the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 for your family.
From Nestle.
The world needs mums. With a splash of Golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra oil for pure love.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supramalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Exactly. One Supramalt after breakfast daily keeps us at our best.
Supramalt is specially formulated for today's man and woman. It has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supramalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
Fueling your vitality the whole day through.
Embrace each challenge with renewed might.
With Supermalt, your performance takes flight.
Supermalt,
Unstoppable you.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Bonvita, prepare them to win every day.
The policies are difficult. There's no way Nigeria will have survived the continuation of oil subsidy. There's no way.
Any company or anybody that is involved or that is doing a project that is under the renewed hope, the price of cement will be frozen. There will be no increase for the foreseeable future.
For each housing unit, we are impacting over 25 jobs. So we have created over 250,000 jobs across the country.
But they're fantastic. Mr. President has actually done very well.
When he came, he made a total rental economy.
When you are elected into the National Assembly, whether in the Senate or the House of Representatives, your conscience will not give you gloves to go and start boxing. It's not a boxing tournament.
Mr. President,
came a time when Nigeria was perhaps fast on its way to Baba.
When this government came in, even crude oil production was just about 1,050,000. Today we are back to 1,700,000, 1,800,000 barrels of crude oil a day.
Production contribution comes from, I would say, two main segments. The first segments are those assets that are operated by NNPC directly, and the second segments are those assets that are operated through joint venture partners.
When I took over, the changes, it was a big thing. I stopped reading papers and found it very, very difficult to even listen to news sometimes with level of criticism and pressure on me on the reform. Today, I believe Nigeria has come of age. Nigeria is becoming more competitive. Nigeria has turned the corner.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 years reform to recovery documentary airs tomorrow, the 3rd of June 2025, on the following TV channels: Arise 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., NTA 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., TVC 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., Channels Television 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Time for newspaper review. Please don't go away.
Chukwudi Okoli-Obaja is right here with us this wet Tuesday morning in Abuja. How you doing, Chukwudi?
I'm okay, Mrs. John. How are you doing?
Very well.
You know, in presentation, we dwell on first-name basis so that to promote comradeship and camaraderie. Right. We don't say Dr. Victor. Have you taken a PhD anyway?
Not yet.
About to.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Well, let's begin. Let's begin the review, and I'll start with the Daily Times, which leads with this bold headline: VP Shettima pushes cocoa processing, $25 billion gas pipeline economic drive. That story is on page 2. And just above the nameplate, I'm an asset to Tinubu's victory, will lead APC campaign in Rivers. That's credited to Wike, and it is on page 2. And then Mokwa, flood disaster survivors lament delays in emergency relief. That one is on page 11. All right, let's leave it here for the Daily Times and get going with the leadership. The leadership has as its main story: again, suspected herders kill 48 Benue farmers. Family in tears buries 11 members in one day. And 1,385 children recruited by Boko Haram in 2 years. That's according to the UNODC. And NAF airstrikes kill 20 terrorists, 2 vigilantes in Zamfara. Okay. And above the nameplate is still the Wike story. Wike hits back, says Amechi Atiku El-Rufai, power hungry. Flood, we lost 200 lives, 1,000 still missing. That's according to the Niger government, and that's on page 6. Okay, Yenri.
All right, so let's look at what the Guardian is offering this morning. I like the lead caption here, very interesting, and of course I'm sure it will make an interesting read. The kicker says, publish or perish. 97% of public universities default in online visibility transparency order. You want to find out what that's about? Page 6 has all the details in the Guardian newspaper this morning. Above the lead story, just below the masthead, we have NAF strike kills 20 bandits, 5 vigilantes in Zamfara. Amnesty International demands probe. That's on page 3. You want to find out why. And looking below the picture story this morning, we have 16 years after meltdown. NGX market cap surges by 347.5%. That's on business. And finally, from the front page of The Guardian this morning, 2027, that's the kicker. PDP's internal crisis worsen as Wike George trade words. That's on page 6. More interesting captions right here on the front page of The Guardian, but of course you need to get a copy of the paper to see all of that. So let's see what This Nigeria holds this morning. The lead story here says another interesting caption. Ex-Governor Amechi hungry for power, not food. That's according to Wike. The writer, he should stop insulting Nigerians. Speaker, 8 years. Governor, 8 years. And Super Minister for another 8 years. Now he's hungry. All right. Says Bodejo should read newspapers if he's jobless. That's on page 4. All right. So much happening in the polity. You want to see all of that. Beside the masthead, Nigeria's $625 billion investment for undersea gas pipeline to Europe. Interesting. Page 21 has that. And just beside the picture story, we have FCTA to housing beneficiaries apply for property titles within 2 weeks. And below that, women in oil industry face gender discrimination, according to Pegason. And finally, from the front page of This Nigeria this morning, we have 33 killed in fresh wave of headers violence in Benue communities. NAF airstrikes eliminates 20 terrorists in Zamfara. Not good at all, and that's on page 12. All right, Chukudi.
Let me take the VP's push for cocoa processing. We had an additional, tag there, $25 billion gas pipeline economic drive is also part of what he's, interested in there. I like that. But equally important is the question of whether we are still pushing up the growth of the plant itself. That's the cocoa. Nigeria has so many things that would easily earn it foreign exchange. I know that cocoa processing is one of them. But if you remember the cocoa house, there were days and all that, you want to think that the thing has not quite grown in quantum compared to what it was when we were in primary school, where we were, it was cocoa and groundnuts then, three of them really, no, 4, cotton, palm oil, cocoa, groundnuts, the held sway, and they were really fetching us a lot of money. So it matters to me as well whether the cultivation of the plant itself is being kept up, because arable land is still there on that axis, even into part of Edo State. I think cocoa grows more in the rainforest area. I think so. So it's a good thing, but let us make sure we're not falling behind at all in the production of the commodity. Now, these politicians talking, sometimes I ask myself whether news editors have joined in distracting us in this country. I don't know. So Wike says Amechi is power hungry. Every politician is power hungry. They want power. Whatever they do with it is actually open to conjecture after that on our shows, So let them have their say and all that. Actually, when I listen to Wike sometimes, I'll say, but this man didn't attend the same Yapis school with Fela and Nikolapo Kuti. How did he release all these vibes? I think they're just entertaining us. Let's concentrate on
entertainment. But this story is not entertaining, and I think that this needs some form of urgency. The Mokwa flood update.
Yes.
This report from The Guardian says over 1,000
still missing. And 200 bodies now
recovered.
Yes.
I'm talking about those that are still missing. I mean, just so that we do not, cause another health challenge. Because, these bodies will start decomposing by now if they are dead already. We need to find them and then, I don't know, just to prevent...
Yes.
Because some communities that depend on such water bodies to do other things. So
you're assuming that by now those 1,000 people are missing, are dead people.
Maybe not all dead, but...
Exactly. The mentality is that it's still a search and rescue, but hopes should be waning by now, truly. I mean, to align with your thinking on in the matter. Health challenge, very, very important to consider in a situation such as this. Human tragedy is never good wherever it happens and whenever it happens. What really irks me is how the number of casualties could be up to that. The other time we're talking about the ire, the anger of the elements. But I think it was you too who said, or was it Victor, who said that not handling drainage facilities well also seem to exacerbate what melting ice and all that is pouring on humanity. You know, it's really a very sad thing. And when you consider that the rains are just starting, you begin to ask, if this could happen in May, it happened in May, not June, what would happen when August, July, you know, come up?
But is
it's really unfortunate.
Just rain? Because some people are saying this is not just about the rains. Could it be that a dam was opened somewhere? You know, this is unusual. What rain really have we seen to date?
You know, Victor, you and I know that we're not allowed to speculate. In the journalism class, we're told that. So if that has not been proved, we want to assume that it was natural rain that caused it. And the state of our drainage sewage systems and all that does not actually keep water back from where it shouldn't be. We need to. Last year, it's become a routine. It's become, you know, something we say annual ritual. It's become routine for us to talk about these floods. How preemptive are we? Why do we tend to react to issues we can work proactively
to prevent?
To
you know,
prevent.
I was listening to a
very
report by
important.
one of our correspondents. I'm sure you saw that, Musa Baba Aliyu, you know, some days ago, maybe a day or so. And, you know, in that report, he visited the community, and it was reported that some people built on the waterway. All right, and then that the river also, I mean, overflowed, you know, something like that. So, but looking at the fact that people built on the waterways, that's a challenge in itself. So if that was corrected from the beginning, maybe the number of people swept away would have been...
Who approved it?
Who approved it?
Who approved
it is there, Victor.
And who watched them through the years?
You see, Victor, I am beginning to think that when I come here, I don't need to talk about what politicians are doing to this country. I want to think more about what Nigerians are allowing politicians do to them. If you begin to hero worship, if you begin to think that wealth is everything and all that, you begin to encourage some people to do certain things to you. Nature has also provided for you to think well. If you have, I keep saying this, if you have a community that has 1 million policemen, but they do not want to obey law and order, I can tell you that 250,000 policemen in a community that believes in law and order will work more effectively than the 1 million in a community that does not think that law and order should be respected. We need to meet some of these things halfway. Have we always been like this? Remember the days of the sanitary inspector. You couldn't take a rotten tomato into a farm market in Iseluku. Obogolo would not allow you. He was a dreaded sanitary inspector. We just lost so many things in this country. Things that made us. In those days, you are outside sweeping broom, but that's what we call it. After sweeping your compound, some people would like to come and lie on it. We lost so many things, Victor. That's why I keep on saying that ethical revolution and all that, they are going to have to be recommissioned for us to get out of the morass we find ourselves in.
My worry is that next year when we talk about flooding again, we'll start over again.
Yes.
What exactly do we do to ensure that the next one, even if it happens, does not hit us
The
so
first
bad?
the first thing you do is to ensure that continuity is the order of the day. Where did the last governor stop? How can I add to what he has done? But we live in a situation where you tend to see politicians who come into office and they are interested in awarding fresh contracts, fresh contracts tend to subjugate the process of work in something that does not require neglect for even 1 second. So continuity is part of it. How do we continue? That's why I liked the Buhari administration when it said, we are not so interested in new projects. We want to make sure we complete many of the ones that have been, and that was a good thing to say. I don't know how much they fared in that area in terms of success, but at least it was said. You understand? There are some naughty habits we have that do not enhance human development.
All right, talking about human development, it's almost time for us to go, but I just hope that, those who are beneficiaries of houses, take the warning of the FCTA now, so that it's not when the minister begins to, I don't know, but the headline is FCTA to housing beneficiaries apply for property titles within 2 weeks. So people, there's actually a list in The Guardian, so I expect people to pick up the paper. If you have anything to do with the FCTA to get your papers and your documents right, do it, so that, when the minister comes out and says, okay, we're revoking this or we're doing that, people don't begin to cry foul.
Exactly. There are 2 Wikes to me. Wike, the workaholic, that says we must have good roads, that says you have to do what you need to do to make governance and government to continue. Then the Wike, the politician. Is Wike, the workaholic, interested in people paying what they should pay? And that's what you're talking about now. And the most saddening thing about it is that the people who owe these monies, they are talking about massive houses. So it's not all this jemu. No. They can afford it, but it has become routine for them not to do it. And the impunity has always been on their side.
Well, we have to thank you very much. I'm sure that those concerned have heard you and us. So we thank you for coming.
I wish my word were law, but I'm not elected.
We'll see you again tomorrow, Chukwudi. Good Morning Nigeria continues after this break. Please don't go away.
I am pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025 only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, this represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.04% from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and measurable.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
I want to play!
Survey says... If my phone rings at 2 a.m., it's probably...
My mom.
An emergency.
Landlord. Achaluko. I will give you 1.5 million. After you smile finish, I will add extra 1.5 million just for you to move around. I will not add extra 2 million naira. Just for you to call me your dogu.
Family Feud Nigeria Season 3 is officially live.
At NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service, basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS, and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer Management.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria here on the network service of VNTA. Just before we bring in our guests for our conversation on the 2 years of Tinubu administration with focus on humanitarian affairs and poverty reduction, let's take this background report by Ibrahim Belogunda.
The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation offers various skills acquisition programs aimed at empowering vulnerable Nigerians, particularly the youth. This initiative is tagged Renewed Hope Skills Acquisition Program, targeting Nigerians aged 18 to 35 years, vulnerable populations including those affected by humanitarian crisis, nomadic education commission students, with focus on skills acquisition and sustainable livelihood, among others. The Humanitarian Ministry is also repatriating Nigerian refugees from the republics of Chad, Niger, Cameroon, Libya and other parts of the world, while also settling internally displaced persons affected by insecurity, disaster, among others, across the country through shelter provision, skills training, among others, to fully integrate into the society. Another initiative impacting Nigerians is the Social Investment Program, aimed at empowering vulnerable populations, including children, youth, and women, by providing access to resources and support to millions of Nigerians. How impactful has the program of the Humanitarian Ministry been? What changes will the ministry roll out? And what approach to disaster and humanitarian intervention should Nigerians expect? These and more will form part of questions guests on the program will find answers to.
All right, many thanks, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, for that background report on the 2 years of Tinubu administration will focus on humanitarian affairs and poverty reduction. And seated right here in the studio to talk more about the efforts by this administration to cushion the effect of poverty and of course render some humanitarian services to Nigerians is the Honorable Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me once more and for the opportunity for our ministry to come and explain what the President Bola Ahmed is doing to bring humanity to governance in Nigeria.
All right, many thanks. And also introducing here in the studio Reverend David Ugolo, Executive Director, Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice and Age. A pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, let's begin, Honorable Minister, with a broad overview. 2 years into the Tinubu administration, how would you describe the humanitarian and poverty reduction landscape in Nigeria these last 2 years?
Well, thank you very much for giving us this time to have an overview of what so far has transpired over the period President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ruled the country. And first of all, we must congratulate the President for having successfully led the affairs of this country to where we are, and also for the fact that Nigeria remains an entity and also an independent entity of its own, and charting along its course. And you must know that Nigeria over the years has suffered a lot of disasters and trauma. For instance, if you know, in 2016, Nigeria went into recession, and when it's about, it just came out of it, then we had a COVID-19, which has also impacted negatively for the globally, with the whole world being locked down under restriction in terms of whatever human endeavors you can think of. And that is also the terms of resiliency, not only in Africa, but globally, how world cope up. And even we see some so-called stronger nation on their knees following the COVID-19 listen. And that has really opened the head. And immediately after that also, Nigeria went to another recession in 2020, and that has really affected this, as if things will get better globally also, whether we like it or we don't like it. It's really Russia-Ukraine war has really also impacted negatively in this, most especially if you look at it in terms of food security globally. Ukraine is one of the areas that is producing globally cereal that will affecting millions of lives, and that has really, the distribution chain has really changed. And then all of a sudden, world fund that would be diverted for human capital development is now used to procure arms and ammunition. And if you come here locally, you see also that here, even in Nigeria, we have a lot of challenges, most especially also in the food basket of the country. If you look at the areas that are affected in the Northwest, these are the areas that are producing food. You talk of Katsina, you talk of Zamfara, you talk of Kebbi, you talk of Southern Sokoto. These are all areas that are the higher fertile. So also if you come to Benue Plateau, these are all areas that are massively producing food as a food basket. So these are the challenges. And also, lastly, the economy is broken. So the only way for a leader that wants to lead this country to prosperity is to see how much can you reset the economy, and how much can you impart to make sure that things are moving forward. And that led us to a lot of reforms. And in reforms, you also have to know that if you say you want to reform yourself, even you can see, as doctors, we do advise reform your habit, most especially dietary habit. And you find that in the first 6 months of your reforming that dietary habit, you experience some inconveniences. Mm-hmm. And some way, doctor, do you want to combat meat, a goat? You say, I should leave this, take more fiber, take more this vegetable, this and that, this and that. So you understand. So that reforms are there. But to say frankly speaking, over the years, yes, really, Mr. President has also come up with the programs that will help to alleviate suffering of the system that what I've mentioned, the economic trauma globally and locally that we have suffered, and also some of the pains that may come with the reforms. And in doing that, it becomes a holistic approach. You understand? In our ministry, for instance, in terms of relieving the suffering to Nigerians, the transparency become a major factor that President is using to assess the ministry's performance. And therefore, an era of giving people money anyhow that cannot be accounted has come to almost stopped. Now we do things based with application of technology that can give you the chance to trace, track, and also verify. And that's why now you find that each, whatever we are doing, we have to do it along with digital identity, which will come to expatiate later. And that really has improved the rating of the ministry and the transparency aspect of it. And we have reached millions of Nigeria. And also we come with the various projects that we are going to do in terms of imparting skills to the youth, that those skills will allow them to be their own independent employer that can later also increase the GDP of Nigeria. And not only that, we also succeeded through that program to remove job biases, because job biases in Nigeria is one of the major cause of poverty. You see a graduate with certificate in agriculture, in auto mechanic, in renewable energy, in digital world, but if you ask him, please go and establish a small shop, no, I wanted to be a clerical officer or somewhere in an office where he'll be earning less than 100,000. And then if he establishes without removing that biases, he can develop an office that in a day, in a month, he can make up to $1 million.
And probably employ other people.
Yeah, employ other people. And that's and that's what we are going to discuss now, our successes in the Skilled Towards program that we have just done. We also have succeeded in seeing that working together with various state government and military establishment, to especially where we know that really safety has been achieved to at least to acceptable level. We are working with state government to see how much we can repatriate Nigerians who are outside the country to come back to voluntarily on the express interest to be resettled in the country, and that we have done with Borno State government. We have brought so far almost 7,000 Nigerians that are in Chad Republic. We are working now together with United Nations Human Rights Commission to see how much we can also repatriate from Cameroon Republic. And not only that, we are also in charge of internally displaced persons in the country. We have tried to succeed how much we can improve in terms of relationship between host community and the internally displaced persons in those areas. And if you go despite the fact that there are some crises in Benue and some Plateau and some certain part of the country, but we have still succeeded in developing a strong cohesion between the internally displaced person and their host community. And this has also given us the ability to come up with a sustainable, durable solution in terms of having an understanding between the host community to develop to give land to the internally displaced person, and through our own memorandum of understanding between Federal Ministry of Internal Affairs, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and our agencies, the Refugee Commission and NALDA. We have gone into MOU that we have. I think I was here last year after we have gone to Plateau State to flag up the harvesting season of that joint venture agricultural this in between the migrant community and this. So also we are also responsible for the senior citizens. There are a lot of things that we're also going to share what we have done and what we are doing. So if you look at it so holistically in terms of economy you are taking, even just a few weeks ago, we've just had a meeting. A lot of it's been done under the office of the Vice President. And we have developed a proactive approach, most especially to those flood-prone areas. We are going to proactively reach them with certain statements that will allow them to prepare and resistance. But I'll just, Nigeria, we have to say that it's suffering from both natural and climate change disasters. So before we can even reach to level of dispensing what we are dising, that of the Mokwa came and claimed a lot of life. So far, it was over 151 million lives lost. So I want to use this opportunity to condole the government of Niger State and also the relative and every Nigerians. We sympathize with them. And we are working hard to see how much we can settle this country. But generally, is to say that Nigeria, just like any other country, we have a lot of challenge, but they are not this. What we're happy is that we have a president who have humane and who is also proactive in terms of his approach. Otherwise, you see, and we are working this in major issue also, we are working to see how much we can have this. As of today, we have the data of almost 3 million Nigerians that are internally displaced. This is a number of states. And it can also mean a number of another country, even in Africa. So you can see. So, and the only thing also, we have to also thank Nigerians. Nigerians have been supportive to the government, and they have been prayerful for the country to remain peace and this. We have record this definitely. We will agree that despite the fact that, when you are fighting insurgency, it's just like you can have spike. Sometimes, like as doctors, there's some certain action potential. At times, certain things will just trigger and you have a fly. Yes, but otherwise, everybody will know that this government has succeeded in security. But we are saying also there are despite that the spike, that the ministry is security agencies are seriously working to do it. For instance, now, we all knew that 3 years ago, 4 years back, 5 years back, if you say Kaduna, Biningwari, Tegina Road, if you give people, you give them 10 million, you cannot listen. Sadly, I would say one of my cousins is married to my younger sister. Is a driver, and I told him stop following Biningwari Road. And behold, the last day he called me, he said, look, doctor, I have really stick to your advice. And this is my last trip leaving Kaduna. That was his last trip also flying that road. And that is his last day on earth. So he was shooting and this thing. But as of today, the Biningwari market, which is one of the largest in the country of a cattle market, is open. The road is now being people move it from this. But I said, we are not saying that things we have all security challenges are addressed. And I mentioned you must have insurgency. You can always have that spike. And the government will not allow that spike to last long. No. There are a lot of proactive activities.
All right. Many thanks, Honorable Minister, for your opening comments. Quite detailed. Of course, we'll get back to you, to give us more, initiatives that the ministry is embarking on, and of course, the impact on the people. Just in case you want to send in questions or comments, there's a number on the screen. Feel free to send in SMS, to that number, or you can send us WhatsApp messages. Now, I'll get to Reverend Ugolo now. I've listened, you have also listened to the Honorable Minister. Away from listening to him, I know you have been following the impact of the ministry, not just this administration, even before now, by virtue of the work that you do. So I would like you to tell us, in your own view, how would you want to rate the impact of the intervention of the ministry in terms of real terms, poverty reduction and humanitarian impact?
Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank NTA and also thank the Honorable Minister for this, what will I say, is a grand way he has put the whole issue in a grand perspective. But there are key words that we have to take that is very instructive, that will enable us at least evidence the assessment of this administration. One of the key words is reform. he used it, and even make sure that he try as much as possible, perhaps because of his professional background, to use an evidence of somebody who is trying to shift away from a particular habit. It's not an easy one. So reform is a key word. Then he used another key word, transparency. You know, transparency goes with accountability. That's another key word he used in trying to put a background to this whole discussion. Then another key word again is technology. You see, and once government is comfortable with those key words and they are able to drive their policy, then there is legitimacy, there is trust. Because what has happened is that you will agree with me that before this government, there have been a breakdown of trust, and people have been cynical. And with the new administration focus trying to strengthen the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Reduction and beginning to use technology to help identify beneficiaries of cash transfer, you can see hope gradually emerging. And that for me is something that Nigerians must take very seriously. There is no doubt there is cynicism. There is no doubt that people are not too very happy with what has happened. And coming from that background, and with the recent policy of the government trying to remove oil subsidy and the inflation consequence, you could understand how impactful those policies are on the people of Nigeria. And so they are not very happy, and then you cannot blame them. But at the same time, you know, it's like you want to address a problem. You have to agree that there are steps and conditions you have to take. And that's why those three key words that I identified earlier on are very important. So the issue of transparency, I will agree that if you've been reading and familiar with the issue of social protection in the country, the level of reporting and media reporting as to how President Tinubu is going about achieving his target of 15 million Nigerians that will eventually benefit, you will agree with me that the reportage has increased dramatically. And I speak from the evidence as one of the key civil society that monitor the social protection cash transfer program for the last 3, 5, 6 years. If you recall, the recovering of Abacha loot, the $325.5 million that was used the first time in the world to finance cash transfer program across the entire country. We deployed over 300 civil society across the entire country. And NTA was part of the whole media team that we took across to see how cash transfer program was benefiting people. And I know that people are very cynical when they say, what is 5,000 naira? What is 25,000 naira? You know, you see, I say this, you can sit down in your comfort home in the urban center and say, what with 5,000? But when we visit the community and see the people who are benefiting from this cash transfer program, we know what 5,000 can do. We know what 10,000 can do. Particularly families who are not able to buy drugs when their children are dying. Particularly families who are not able to send their children to school. When they receive this sum of money, it helps them. It empowers them to form cooperative and beginning to feel the government impact. And so, coming from that history, President Tinubu putting priority on this issue of social protection and coming up with a target, and you would have also shown the $800 million secured from the World Bank, all in an attempt to finance the social protection program in Nigeria. That demonstrates political will. Because without political will, there's nothing you can talk about poverty reduction. And that's the whole mainstream of the humanitarian ministry. So poverty reduction all over the world, you need a strategy. And social protection cash transfer program is a key strategy. At least it's a way government try to leave no one behind.
All right.
Which is very good for this country.
Thank you, Reverend Ugolo. Now, each time you talk about social investment anywhere in the world, issues of transparency and accountability often come up. Now, your organization has been monitoring. So what's your assessment with regards to accountability and transparency? I mean, the Honorable Minister also mentioned it earlier.
Yes, that's why the Honorable Minister said the keyword reform. It takes into consideration that the past has not been too fantastic when you try to use the word transparency. You have heard how the EFCC took actions, but now this administration decided, and that look, considering where we are coming from, moving forward, there will be reform. That is disclosure, which is transparency and accountability. For instance, government and have decided to disclose, for example, who is benefiting from the National Social Register. And in the first time, if you pick every newspaper in the country today, you see that the government is mentioning the amount of people who are currently benefiting from the Nigerian Social Register. But the problem is that most people you see in the television station, very educated people, they come and discredit government policy. They don't take time to even assess government document. They don't take time to even assess the policy. So it is those kind of criticism that misrepresent some of this policy. And so for us as civil society, I haven't invested resources. For example, the new project we just launched at Niger for social protection in Nigeria, we're launching it across 7 states. And what are we doing is to raise an awareness about how government is investing, and then to also engage government to ask questions. You said so number of people are benefiting. Where are they located? Where are the evidence? Where are the data? And then with those data, we go to those community and say, government said, look, they have disbursed so amount of money. Are you benefiting from it? And they say no. There's a grievance mechanism. And we have used this grievance mechanism to seek redress for some people who have not benefited. And we have turned it into government. And government have taken steps. Sometimes official of the National Cash Transfer Office has been prosecuted. But sometimes, you see, even in the United States, in an advanced country, governance is partnership. Government alone cannot ensure transparency and accountability. Government needs partnership with civil society. And that's exactly what happened in the Mantra project when the $325 million was put in cash transfer program. The Attorney General then wrote to the National Cash Transfer Office empowering civil society to have access to the database. First time in history, we were able to use those information to answer the question of accountability. So for this administration, disclosing the information of those who are currently benefiting the social register is very fundamental. And also know that these are the reporting from the federal government, but we have state government, about 36 states, and over 700 something local government. So what are those doing? That's something we should also put in consideration. So when people are saying they are not benefiting from cash transfer program, are they talking about who? Because we have 3 tiers of government. We have the federal, and I'm sure that if you listen to the honorable minister, he has always spoken about what the federal government is doing, and then some state trying to collaborate with the federal government. So we're also encouraging state government to also put some part of their resources on cash transfer program. And we are very happy that Delta State government now is trying to put some money for widows. And that for me is something that is remarkable. It's only when the local government, the state government, the federal government, and private sector come together. That's why we're going to have a sustainable development.
Okay.
And impact.
Many thanks, Reverend Ugolo. Your take on the cash transfer, of course, is commendable. But of course, we must also look at some other initiatives like what the First Lady is doing. I know that she's empowering a lot of women with equipment, to in their skills, whatever it is they're doing. I know they're giving deep freezers, they're giving grinding machines and all of that, just so that they can be empowered and be able to move away from dependency on government or whatever it is. But I want us to focus, on another aspect that the ministry recently embarked on, and that's trying to get refugees that are stranded outside this country back home. I'm wondering why the ministry decided to, take up that initiative, considering the fact that we have, some other organizations that, may be interested in such initiative. So why did the ministry do that, and what has been the impact of that initiative?
Well, thank you very much. Just know that you have to know that Nigeria is not a solo country; it's part of global community. And in every global community, there's always that standard criteria that you must do. And the world is moving toward protection of everybody's right. And that right has to be your decision where you want to stay, where you want to move, where you are distant, provided you are going to do it within the legal framework acceptable for that country and for the global community. Now, if for any reasons you are forced to be displaced from your own area, and you also have to cross the border to another country, you might become a migrant. Now, your right as a migrant must also be protected. And part of those rights is for you to decide where you want to stay. You should be assisted to settle at that place. And when you so decide to go back to your ancestral home, voluntarily, there is no coercion. You also have to be assisted within that distance to make sure that where you are going, the assessments has confirmed that really it's safe, and you should be assisted along the line from when you make your decision to when you arrive at that distance. This is international convention. So Nigerians in Chad wrote to the president, wrote to the Borno State governor, expressing their desire, considering the success that has been recorded, that they want to come back to Nigeria. So it now becomes fundamentally a right that we must respect. And in doing that, because it's an international decision, we had to sit down and review circumstances, situation, and what have you, and our local preparation here with United Nations Commission for Refugee to ensure that all the necessary decision is achieved. And then after the assessment and confirming really, based on their register, we have had over 7,000 Nigerians who voluntarily want to come back to the country. We have to travel to Solabaga at the office of the United Nations Commission for Refugee with Borno State governor, and then with the Chadian authority, and sign an MOU to repatriate them back to the country. And this is voluntary. And even if you listen, if there is also regular returnees who on their own, without even telling government, without notifying anybody, decided to come back. So once you know you are duty bound to provide security and assist them to get to where they want to settle in the country. So, and that's what we have done. And let's say that we have a very strong, the three components all contributed. We must be grateful to Governor of Borno. He has been proactive in various spheres of human endeavor, and he recorded so much success. So even on the issue of the refugee, he has tried his best to ensure that an enabling environment is provided for those returnees. And together with the National Commission for Migrants, we work much distant also give our own contributions. And then, thank God, all the 7,000 came back to the country, and they were settled, and their movement from Solabaga up to Borno, Borno State, it has been uneventful, and even as of today, it was uneventful. And we are even making plan. The governor has already gone there several times to see them. The ministry, the Refugee Commission too, are working on arrangements here who can also go and also see them. Because that is the pattern of the ministry. Even the minors that were discharged following the national protest that we had, that were arrested in Kano, Kaduna, we have not cut off from them. I was in Kano, minister was in Kaduna. We went and followed them up to see how much they are doing. So for this regime, that's what we say, transparency, accountability, we must add this thing. And for that, to say that all our activities, we have made it at our cardinal. I was just telling the goal that for us as a ministry, we are open to work with anybody who wants to add value to our activities. And just as mentioned, his monitoring of conditional cash transfer. We also, even last 4 weeks, I received a report from Nigeria Integrity Group on what are the chances, how those targeted population were shortchanged along the line. And we acted promptly in collaboration with those state governors, and we have addressed the issue. In fact, I had a course to write to them what will I say, appreciation or congratulatory this thing for their wonderful this thing. And this, I think this is one of the reasons. We don't see them as coming to expose the ministry. No, we see them as partners, because we'll be more liable if the targeted population are being shortchanged at that level. And then always, the federal ministry staff are not even the ones. But because we are the source, it's a federal government intervention. The accusation is that the ministry is conniving with people to change this. So, and that's why we say we are open. And I am using this medium today now to invite all the civil society groups that have interest in humanitarian and poverty reduction activities to come forward. Let them come and register with us. You understand? As a this thing, we are not going to compromise anybody. All you need to do is register. How you mobilize your resources to work with us and assist the ministry is your own cup of tea. But we will take your report very, very important, and it will guide our undertakings. Because we have developed a strong monitoring and evaluation. And then if you want to do monitor and evaluate, you cannot use one tool only. You must have independent opinion to see how much you are doing. Because if you are not lucky, it's just garbage in that will be reported to you, and you monitor your output also to be garbage. But if you have a second opinion, independent, unbiased, that can have a lot of reliability, and you can work with it to make your journey
all right,
fast.
Honorable Minister, let's talk about the Skill to Wealth initiative, which is one of your flagships in the ministry. How effective has it been into transitioning young Nigerians from vulnerability to productivity, for instance?
Well, thank you very much. This is it's a new initiative in the ministry. And what we have done now is like a pilot study, of which tomorrow we are graduating the first set that we have done the pilot study. And the pilot study is very, very important. Everybody knows what pilot means. We have identified a lot of areas that need to be improved when we come to the scale-up program. We have also seen a lot of challenges, and we have also seen of the 3 core areas we have mentioned where the youth are more interested. You understand? So the whole program is aimed at providing employment for youth, as we know that an idle mind is a double workshop. And also to remove job biases, as I mentioned earlier, because it's one of the major causes of poverty in Nigeria. And 3, to also encourage social interactions, because these are youth that we brought from 7 states in the northwest to Kano. In the southeast, we took 6 states there, 2 in Enugu, and then in south Delta, Lagos, southwest in Lagos, and then in north central here we camp them in Jos. And then we use government institutions that have a lot of advantages for us. They have accommodation, so it can be there. They have hostel, they have light, they have everything. That is Digital Bridge Institute. So it's a training center, and they have offices, all these things. So this is something open. We are not just doing. And then the added also, we try to see how much can we link our training to labor market, so that those of them that were trained can easily be absorbed. And we also want into MOU with GAG Motors for the automobile. And they are the one responsible training and retraining of those.
Impressive.
So because that, and they have also promised us that they will use at that opportunity the best. They are trying to see how they can open their state services offices. And those are the candidates that they are targeting. They have trained them. So those who perform well will be absorbed into that. And also, for us on our own, we also provided a starter pack. We arm you with skill. We have removed the bias for you and this. And 3 important issues that are very, very relevant to this is the fact that it is inclusive. A lot of females participated. And I think for a core north, to say that a lady will come and said, look, what I want to learn is to be an auto mechanic. It's development that this. A lot of them are there also as they wanted to learn how they can use renewable energy. And also for us here in the north, having ladies to be part of those who can install solar in houses most especially in the corners where there is a lot of powder issue. Men don't go into women rooms. This for us is a source of inspiration. It means that those ladies that are participating readily will have market more than the men, because they can access. It's not going to be a major issue to them. So this and then even the people with disability are also partaking in it. So it's inclusive. It also is a source of cohesion. And what I said is a pilot study. We have just started. We are graduating 1,000 tomorrow. And I mentioned the issue why we have to limit it.
In which state did the pilot take place?
It's all the states are, each state, where there is all equality and equity. Each state is, we nominated 27 people, this in 9 for solar, that's the renewable energy, 9, this because there are 3 thematic areas we are taking, 9 for agriculture, and then 9 for automobile.
Across the 6 states and the FCT.
Yes, across
beautiful, fantastic.
And then those one now, we count them. And I mentioned, you see, if you want things to succeed, it's always not good to start with full blown. See how much can you do to correct the shortcomings, identify where weaker areas, and see how you can strengthen it, and then identify majorly the gains. How can you this thing? And not only that, those ones we are going to maintain register for them. We are going to monitor quarterly. We'll follow them for at least a period of 2 years. How many of those that we have trained are really into that this thing? And if they are not there, what are really the issues? You understand? So these are this thing. So, and then this is not Empower. And then we are also moving up, apart from the skill 12 that we are targeting 220, almost 20,000 youth in Nigeria. We have items in various warehouses of our ministry. That as today, if we are going to this thing, we are concluding some arrangement. We use those this thing. It's capable of training at least 120,000 Nigerian youths. And those are all warehouses full of starter packs that we are ready to use as soon as we stand. So what I'm just saying, the feature for Nigerians as well as the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is concerned is education, skills. You understand? If you look at even when I was in education, I was here when when I mentioned that the IDEA project will soon be changed to be focused in terms of skills. And as of today, the Ministry of Education has already launched skill also. They are now giving technical vocational education, more emphasis, and even with allowances that will be given. And you take this thing, oh, I want to have a basic education. Now, while you are giving a basic education, will be given a necessary skill that will arm you at this thing. Just take it for instance. I mentioned here, if you want the best person that will put your POP in this, it's a Togolese or Benin. Is it that we don't have talent to do it? It's because of job biases. And those people that are doing those nice work in our houses, you understand, they are earning in 1 year as smart that of a director in 3 years. So the only thing that this one is under AC and this one under this thing. And also, if you go to their various houses, their houses are far as smart that of the director. So it means it's only the only problem is that period of time between when they will remove their normal clothes that they are dissing and the one they will now put as executive of their own job. That's different. But in terms of earning, comfortability and this, one that are different. And that is in the period of waiting of 1 month, alert or no alert, this and that, this and that.
All
it becomes this thing. So I think we are emphasizing just as directed by the president on skills and removing job biases among our youth. And that's the best way this country can move forward.
All right, many thanks, Honorable Minister. Because of time, really, we want to take some responses that we've gotten from our viewers. This one is from Abbas Abubakar Saad from Jalingo. It says, President Tinubu's administration in terms of humanitarian affairs is quite commendable. However, continuity is essential for 2 of the programs, Empower and the school feeding program. You'd respond to that. And this one says, I welcome the minister and appreciate his opening remarks. What the ministry is doing is quite commendable. That's another message. Victor.
All right, I have 3 here. And Dr. Umar Adamubelo says, good morning. My question goes to the Honorable Minister. Please, I need clarification with regards to the use of AI to update the records of poor and vulnerable people in Nigeria. Thank you. All right, and from Garba Mohammed comes this. A lot is happening in the country by the current government, but there's not enough publicity. The government needs to do more in the areas of information dissemination. And finally, from Dr. Adeshida Ni. Good morning, Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. Thank you for your focus thus far. Okay.
Well, you mentioned a lot of, I think the only you mentioned issue of one
Talked
power.
about Empower and school feeding program.
And school feeding program. Well, let me just say that with all those programs initially were suspended, but the President has given approval that we should do. And we have sat down to show. Let me start with the homegrown school feeding program. Well, I was a former Minister of State for Education. And when I was in education, I sat here, even when I came, as this has always been my chair. So as if I have a permanent seat here. And I said, okay, at that time when you asked me about the school feeding program, I said I will cross-check. Because as at that time, it has never been too open to everybody. But with directives of Mr. President, it must be inclusive. The first thing we do was look at the act and provision. The act says provide for primary 1 to 3. You understand? And then secondly, we have to look at the President Directive inclusive. And in that inclusive, the Act of NCPA has a steering committee. And we have to look at that steering committee. That steering committee is holistic, even allowed everybody. So we have constituted the steering committee of which I'm chairing. And then what are the components of that? Ministry of Education. There's no way you can say you are feeding school students. The owners of the student don't even know. So you understand, so they are part of it. Ministry of Finance, they are funding, budget and economic plan, they are this, women affairs, they are dealing about the children. You see, we also have to work with the smallholder farmers who provide food. So agriculture must be there. You understand? We also need data to ensure that everybody think that we are doing, we have digital identity that we can present for verification, for monitoring and evaluation. So NIMSI has to come into it. You understand? So virtually all that is okay. There is hurdles. If you want feed a child and you want to follow it to procurement level, that will take you 6-7 months. You cannot conclude. It becomes a problem. So procurement, BP, Bureau of Public Procurement, is part of it also. So that holistic committee, we have this thing, and we have looked at it, this thing, and we have developed and designed this thing we've selected, those this thing, and then what we have now is a lot of issues that were really complained. This thing. What are in terms of monitoring and evaluations? So we have to develop a component. You see, where we have more challenges is at end user. That is the student that will be fed by the cooks, and then more food that will be purchased from the smallholder farmers to give to cook, and then this thing. We had previous complaint before that the food are not given. And even if they are given, they are not nutritionally okay. So what do we do now? That's the level now we have a lot of verifiers. And that's why I'm also calling for the civil society group to come forward. That verifiers, apart from the ones we are going to, we also employ and seek the understanding of civil society group. So that if our person says, yes, school have been fed, and then we have a contrary report from the civil society group. Definitely, that of civil society group, who are unbiased, uncompromised, will take precedence and will follow it with their evidence to see how much we can investigate, so that we can take the necessary decision. You understand? Right. And also, if we say we are feeding 500 students in school, we should be able to have them in a timeline that you can check and see. And then whoever goes to that school will verify that there are 500 this thing. So that's why I say technology is also involved, and that's why we are using NIMSI.
Because somebody actually asked about AI.
Yes, you see, when you are doing a partnership, you understand. When you are doing a partnership, the whole social security problem, which he knows the social net, revolves around NIMSI, because they will generate the data. that will now use to they verified our data in social register. You understand? We also have World Bank there, who in terms of disbursement money, we are going to use it. You understand? They are also there, and they have their international standard. Now, data presented by NIMSI will also be verified by the World Bank to meet international standards, so that there is inclusion criteria. Social register is not an open register that everybody will come and enter. No, it has inclusion and it has exclusion. And for us as a government, we are not looking at most of the president is not looking at that every Nigerian must remain permanently in social register. No. If you be there, then we now come with durable solutions. And we have already developed those durable solutions. How much can we arm you in terms of apart from the rapid response we are giving you?
All right.
How much can we give you skill so that we can exit you out?
It looks like you said, you have a permanent seat here. So it looks like we're going to have another program.
Okay, for the Empower, let me just
come sit.
Okay, for the home school feeding programs, we have actually concluded what we needed to do. The only thing that that has really been a little bit challenging, we couldn't this was the fact that I had to make a presentation to presidential committee on all we have agreed, and then we have what the steering committee has done will now be presented to presidential committee.
Is it the old beneficiaries will continue on the Empower scheme, or you're going to recruit new people?
No, I'm just saying that you see, the old beneficiaries in terms of Empower, you see, there are people that yet we are aware they need to be paid their entitlement, and the President has given approval that I think it's over 81 billion naira that will be paid to them. You understand? And once it is paid to them, the portal will be open. But you see, we also agree that period of 1 or 2 years that we are going to stay should not be whether graduate or non-graduate. Should not be something that once you finished, you also become another jobless person. No, we are going to work just like what we are doing in the Skill Towards program. We look at private partners, because we have had engagement also with private partners. What they needed is how much can we focus to give them the product that are suitable for them. So we look at them. What is your need? Which area do you need? Can you come? We collaborate with you in training those in our Empower, so that just as the GAG Motors is now going to absorb some, you also absorb some and go. And then how much you can give them. And we're also working with Bank of Industry and Bank of Agriculture too, to see those who have employed in terms of agric to access free this thing. And most importantly, another important point I have made mention, Mr. President has just appointed the National Program Manager for Government Enterprises and Empowerment Program, which is going to also give money. President has assigned money that will go into that. And that money is non-collateral, interest-free, and non-collateral loan that will be given to those who are developing our durable solution for them, so that they can exist and become established. And even those who are not in social register to see how much we can empower them with the software.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. There's so much to talk about, and that's why, like Ere suggested, we may have to bring you again. That's it. We've made it permanent for you. You may have to return. But before we go, let me get Reverend David Ugolo involved again. What policy direction would you suggest, if you may, to make Nigeria's poverty reduction and the drive inclusive and more impactful?
I think that's what the minister rightly noted about
what improvements would you recommend?
Yes, that's strengthening the monitoring and evaluation policy is very important. And for that to be effective, and the minister mentioned the role of civil society. And that's the reason why we are launching this new project at Niger for social protection in Nigeria, which we're focusing on key 7 states, and hopefully it will be scaled across the 36 states. And what's the whole aim of this project? Is to be able to raise awareness about social protection, cash transfer program, and see how the gaps bring it to the awareness of the government. And through the grievance mechanism system, it can be addressed. And then 2, if government claim that 2 million people are benefiting from the social register, we go to the communities across the state and see if they are actually benefiting. And that is also not alone with the federal government. We also need to see the role of the state government and even the local government, because the federal government alone cannot deal with the challenge of poverty reduction. But ultimately, the political will which the president has provided, it is what we are looking into to see how we can work with the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Reduction by enabling civil society with their independent report, feeding into the system. And through that monitoring and evaluation policy of the ministry, they will be able to identify where there are gaps and see how they can address those gaps. And then in places where people who lay claim that their names were not in the social register, like the minister have also said, there are other alternative opportunities for those to benefit. And then those who have also claimed and that they are also in the register, they also need to be an exit period. We need to also audit those processes. If you were into the register, after some time, it's expected that you will exit from the process. We need to also know those who are exiting. And then in that process of providing that evidence before the government will be able to know whether our investment, is it working? If it is not working, what are the challenges?
And of course,
with
the
this back
impact.
information coming from civil society, a partnership, because what you require to achieve this development we are talking about, by not leaving anybody behind, like the minister rightly noted, the need for inclusion, it is partnership.
All right. Of course,
Government
that
alone cannot do
partnership, the minister has already extended,
Yes.
the hand of partnership, to NGOs.
Yes. And we are very grateful.
Just come
Honorable Sir,
forward.
we take this invitation. He has even said that we should come by 1 o'clock
the
today.
private organization
Yes, sir.
that
Yes.
we are doing has really started yielding results.
Yes.
If you go to Jerez and Gas School here in Kaduna State, there's an AMA Foundation. I think AMA Foundation is spending nothing less than 17 to 20 million each week to feed that Jerez school.
Let's see.
And I went there physically, we launched it with Kaduna State government and this, and they're doing that. And even as our own support, we promised them, we will provide them with a lot of chairs. He has inaugurated school, doing so much. And I'm happy to say that 3 days after Salah, the ministry will fulfill its own part of the story by donating those items to Jerez school. And also just on the Children's Day also, we have another partnership between private organizations and our ministry through the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. There is this Karsana area, which is a Fulani-based community, and we have gone there through National's Commission for Almajiri Out of School Children Education and the Ministry of Education. We have established a school there, and then private organization comes to see how much they can support them in terms of free feeding. And what is the advantage of this? Most of the insurgency and banditry we are having, lack of education, is a major stimulus factors. Now, if we can target those communities, the core Fulani communities, provide them education, we will try to radicalize the younger ones that are coming up. And also, giving them a sense of belonging as Nigerians. They will have now been seen that the government of Bola Ahmed has included them into the system. You see, if you look at some of the bandits who complain there is lack of exclusion, the exclusion and what have you. So the only way we can do is see how much strategically can we approach it, targeting the younger ones to see that their children are also being educated. And that will do a lot of
Honourable Minister, thank you very much.
against the
We have quite a number of messages, and of course they commend the initiative by the ministry. A lot of people are particularly excited that you're moving from short-term relief to long-term empowerment, which of course will begin to show, in the economy in the coming years. But before we let you go, we need to move on to our second topic. What will be your final words to Nigerians?
Well,
what assurances are you giving Nigerians as regards your ministry meeting its mandate?
Well, I think we are going to see a new transformed ministry that values transparency, accountability, and service delivery. And if we have transparency, we have accountability, we have service delivery, definitely the consequences is that we are going to reduce poverty in the country, because the services we have empowered, we arm them with skill to work, and also we see an effective humanitarian intervention.
Many thanks,
but
Dr.
Please
Yusuf.
let me say one word. NIMET has made a serious report. Please, each and every community should access that NIMET report, work with the government to see how much we can work together to ensure that consequences of the prediction are mitigated to the barest minimum.
All right. Fantastic. Many thanks, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, Honorable Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. It was a pleasure to have you again today, and we look forward to having you some other time, just so we can, expand on all that the ministry is doing. Many thanks once again.
Thank you.
All right. Of course, we also appreciate Reverend David Ugolo, Executive Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice. And many thanks,
thank you very
Reverend.
much. Yeah,
and of course, we hope that your partnership with the ministry will yield more results. And
Civil society, no bias.
Okay.
So that no Nigerian
exactly.
Everybody is invited.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get into the second leg of our conversation today. Remain tuned.
Major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses, and of course harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening. But that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of skills in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
All right, we thank you very much for being there. Now, recent road crashes has become a source of concern amongst our road users and stakeholders on safety.
Very true. And the fatal motor accident conveying 32 athletes and officials of Kano State contingent to Kano from the just concluded National Sports Festival in Ogun State, which claimed 22 lives as the latest among other road crashes.
Right, and that's why we have joining us here in the studio, Segun Ogungbemide, who is the Core Public Education Officer at the Federal Road Safety Corps. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man.
All right. Not a very good report, about the athletes, but, I mean, for the athletes, they were traveling. But even right here in Abuja and in different states, we see that even for those who are not traveling, who are moving from just their offices to their homes, like what usually occurs at the Karo axis of in Abuja here. I mean, these incidents are they increasing? What would you want to put the problem? Would you say our drivers are becoming more reckless, or is it that our roads are becoming more deplorable?
Thank you very much. Let me start by still speaking out the voice of the Corps Marshal Shehu Mohammed, who commiserated the government of Kano State for the incident that claimed the life of these young fellows. It's quite devastating because if you look at what we have been doing the last 37 years, you agree with me that having you as our major partners in educating members of the public, that we have never failed in that capacity. And this is also in line with the policy trust of the Corps Marshal of rejigging our operational activities, which started right from the time he took over the mantle of leadership last year. And when we were trying to count our gains at the end of last year, we realized that we were able to reduce road traffic crashes by 10%, which is huge compared to what the mandate the United Nations gave to us, that we staged a target of 5%, but we ended up reducing it by 10%. And it's a gain for us. But it's quite unfortunate that at times when the crashes occur, it becomes fatal, which is beyond what we can immediately control. And that's why we believe that we cannot stop enforcement, we cannot stop talking to members of the public. If you look at the traffic volume in Nigeria today, you know that even worldwide, it's not possible to stop road traffic crashes from happening. But what we can do is to speak with the stakeholders, partner with them on how best we can reduce road traffic crashes. And that's the essence of having this safe approach, where we say crashes do occur, but let us reduce the rate of fatality. But the one that happened a few days ago actually was embarrassing, because when you look at the trend, we've talked so much about reducing movement at night, because we know that when you travel at night, the casualty level is always high when there are crashes because of lack of visibility, immediate help. And you cannot really be sure of the condition of the road at night compared to when you are traveling during the day. So we had the information that that vehicle must have traveled through the night. Because when you look at the vehicle coming all the way from Ogun State, and the accident occurred around 12 midday. So definitely some trips must have been made through the night. So who knows? The guy could have been under major fatigue. And it's just like a dream when the breeze blows and you doze off. Anything can happen.
That doesn't change the trend. The trend is that human errors are blamed for road crashes. And so what trend, what behavioral error, what behavioral issue have you found over time and that you intend to address in your next public education campaigns?
It's all about this, self-confidence. When it comes to driving, having the belief that no evil can happen to you. You are a master of your game. You know what you are doing. And if you look at our theme for last year, we lay emphasis in our advocacy. We lay emphasis on the role of passengers. And I want to believe that's what really played out in reducing the rate of road traffic crashes last year. Because we come to realize that despite all the words we have given to the drivers, the moment they go behind the steering, they tend to become the lord of their own, negating all the effort the Federal Safety Corps and other agencies have put in place. So we now come, it's not just about leaving this to them. Let it be a kind of shared responsibility. Let the passengers themselves take their destinies in their hands. FRSC wouldn't have been on that road at that late hour, but the person with the driver are the passengers. If the passenger is becoming reckless, the driver. If the driver is becoming reckless, you have the responsibility to caution him. Well, it's quite unfortunate.
That's if the passengers are awake.
That's what I wanted to.
Because once it's commercial or, mass transit.
It has become our tradition. The moment we enter the commercial vehicle, under 5 minutes, all of us are snoring. And I've said it severally. It could look funny, but it's not. That most of these crashes that occur, the passengers don't even feel the pains of death, because some of them are even asleep when it happened. And before you know it, they are all gone.
But what about enforcement? Beyond education now, what about enforcement, to enforce against overloading, against reckless driving and all other vices on the roads?
Will it not amaze you? Somebody called me, a journalist called to say, it's like we are not doing anything about overloading. I tried to get the data across to him. Because if you notice our social handles, there's no day I don't send the number of overloaded vehicles that are arrested. And the structure, the formation of such overloaded vehicles, it will amaze you that can this happen in a country like this. When I sent him the data, he was amazed that last year alone, we arrested 5,600 overloaded vehicles on Nigerian roads. Is that not huge? And this year, the number is still counting.
Yet so that did not scratch the surface.
The more we try, transportation is quite dynamic. And one thing I've realized about the psychology of Nigerian drivers, if I escape arrest today, my luck. If I'm arrested, my luck. So I can always make do with the period I escape to meet up with what was lost, not minding the effect of all these devastating issues on Nigerian road users.
All right. A lot of people say that the FRSA is doing quite a lot, but some say you're not doing enough.
Okay.
Maybe in the area of arresting, or if you like, stopping vehicles that are not roadworthy from being on the road. A lot of transporters have placed it on the fact that, well, vehicles are expensive, so people can no longer change their vehicles as much as they used to in the past. So you see vehicles that that shouldn't be on the road. Ordinarily, you know that this vehicle can't take you anywhere, but they're still on our roads. What's the FRSA doing about that?
Enforcement. That's the most difficult aspect of every line of authority when it comes to issue of enforcement. You have to be strategic. We have seen a situation where we try to effect arrest and the entire passengers will go against our men. I'm sure you've seen a series of assaults involving FRSA and road users. It's quite emotional at times that you ask yourself, can this happen outside this country? If there's any language the Corps Marshal has used regularly, is that you cannot leave the role of road safety alone to Federal Road Safety Corps. It's beyond that. If it's just about going on the road, arresting people, it will look so simple. But when you look at the role of the passengers that are aggressive, the role of the drivers, do you know the number of our men that have been knocked down in the line of desperation to get a vehicle that we feel is not fit for the road arrested? So at times when you see some vehicles that you feel, oh, this vehicle is not fit for the road, what is it doing on the highway? You wouldn't know what those men pass through. And you look at such vehicle, if you are desperate, assuming it leads to another death, would the motoring public spare our men? So as at November last year, we had 526,000 arrests on Nigerian roads nationwide. Is it a child's play? Do you know what it means to stop a vehicle and get the vehicle arrested easily without opposition from members of the public? The same members of the public that will oppose you that you have not done enough are the same members of the public that will attack you, that don't you know what the country is talking about.
Well, why don't you talk about technology then? Because if it becomes risky for your men to physically try to stop moving vehicles, some have to jump on the vehicles, some have to get in uninvited, why don't you try technology?
we talk a lot about technology. Is there anywhere in the whole world today that you don't need physical presence for enforcement?
Not so much.
Not so much.
How do you apprehend people elsewhere?
Okay, let me give you this scenario. How do you use technology to arrest a vehicle that is extremely overloaded, that has the tendency to lead to another crashes that will involve lives? Can I use technology to stop the vehicle?
But you can
the
use
essence
technology.
of technology.
You can use technology to get the people to pay for their crimes, for their
That is
offenses.
sure.
And that becomes a deterrent.
Okay, it's like this. At that moment, life has to be saved. Somebody's life has to be saved. It's like now, somebody is being kidnapped. You understand now? And it's in a vehicle. Rather than making effort to stop the vehicle because of the way he drove, you said I should allow it to go, they can easily use technology to stop him. There's no problem about that. Do you know the extent to which we have been able to use technology to recover stolen vehicles in Nigeria today? We now talk about enforcement. Every day we have vehicles we declare wanted. We have flying tickets where these vehicles, after they have escaped our men, we always have a way of getting them back. All these things are all encompassing. It's not a straitjacket affair. It's not only one approach to tackling this problem. It's huge. I will not deny that. But FRSC has not failed in that responsibility.
Okay, you know, some people also think that it's in some parts of the country that the FRSC is very effective, but in some other parts, like you have said, the fear of arresting people because of what the passengers and the drivers could do to the FRSC official is maybe a reason why some FRSC officials are turning the other way when they see vehicles that maybe are overloaded. Those who carry human beings and animals, those who, just have people just hanging everywhere in the vehicles. And these vehicles on a daily basis continue to ply our roads. And sometimes when the FRSC officials are even on the road, they turn the other way. Is it that the FRSC is becoming afraid, to do its job?
Well, if you say FRSC is becoming afraid, it could be true and it could be the other way. You recall that the commercial recently started talking about the need for arms, for the men to be able to, get protected because of the series of assaults, and even some do lead to fatality. And the essence of this is we come to realize that 37 years ago, we were in charge. Members of the public were, afraid of FRSC. But 37 years after, it's turning the other way around. Members of the public are getting more aggressive due to so many factors that are known to some of us. And for you to still maintain the same status quo, the way you were doing enforcement 37 years ago cannot really be the same today. So there's need for the men to be fortified, because there's always this rule that your personal safety first. If the men that are just 5 or 6 in a patrol team saw a truck carrying 56 passengers with cattle, will it not amount to suicide for them to think they can stop such vehicles?
I can't believe you're saying that.
No. Let's.
But you're backed by the law. But you're backed by the law.
Let's be sincere here. Let's be clear.
So do we take away the fact that FRSC officials are scared of doing their job?
Wait, we are being sincere with ourselves here. That was what prompted the commercial to direct for a task force where we have the military and the police, for you to know how sensitive it can be to assist in this enforcement. We cannot pretend to ourselves that these boys are, you say we are disturbed here by the level of fatality and crashes that occur. So I will still come here and pretend to you that it's easy enforcement. For us to involve all other agencies to say, come, let us do this thing for us to accomplish this. You should know it's a thing of concern to us. So I can't pretend to you that 6 people can face 100 men in a truck and get them arrested at night or even during the day. The incident that happened that claimed about 200 at Jigawa, were you not aware that policemen were there and FRSC to scare away those people that wanted to scoop fuel? Were you not aware that they were attacked before the scooping started that eventually led to that incident? Because if you want to face one side, this thing has to be all-encompassing. I'm so concerned, and that's why I'm saying this. It's not just about being afraid. If you're afraid, will you be able to arrest close to 560,000? But when we have peculiar situations that need special attention, that's the one I'm talking about here. We've been getting task force support from other agencies. But at the same time, they have their own overwhelming situations.
So what does the FRSC need at the moment to do its job better?
At the moment, one, and that's what we have tried to engage in, involving all the traditional rulers. These people emanate from somewhere, involving the state government. You know, when you get to the root of a problem, it's always the best way to solve it. There are people they listen to. That's why we've engaged in town hall meetings. It's not just about running after trucks and tankers on the highway. There are approaches you can use to solve a problem. They listen to the emirs. They listen to the traditional rulers. We speak to the unions. We know the source of all these problems, and that's why we are tackling it. The pockets we are running after on the highway are the ones that refuse to listen, and that's why it's easier for us to manage. But if we had allowed it to be all commerce affairs, then it would have been a different ballgame entirely.
What about the transport unions and other private sector players?
Virtually all of them are involved, and they have their own challenges.
But are there other initiatives you would like the government to put in place just to strengthen the ability of the FRSC to do its job on the road?
Yes, is outside the issue of fortifying the men by virtue of arms, at least to protect themselves. When you are going
But you know,
out,
many people have kicked against the arms.
Eventually, they got to realize where we're coming from. You agree with me that the entire thing has died down because reasoning has prevailed. Enforcement is not a child's play all over the world. It's like exposing men to go and get killed. You ask me to go and follow someone that I know could be having arms in his vehicle, that I know could have knives and what have you to attack the men. I can give you the data of the men of FRSC that have been killed, those that are still in the hospital. Don't they have families? Don't they have the right to protect themselves? So if you're engaging me to go and get myself into an enforcement, you should know the civil defense and co, where were they coming from? At the early stage, they were using stick to pursue smugglers and those that are stealing our fuel. And they realized the might of those people is bigger than stick. Reasoning prevailed. Government harmed them. And that's why they are performing better today. What we are saying, you talked about the issue of technology. When you know that these people you are going to meet are harmless, they cannot do anything to you, you can easily pick stick and beat them and ask them to leave the road. Has it not been happening? A commercial driver will stop, tell FRSC to leave the road because they want to pass. Must we call police and other agencies to come and support us all the time? The boys have tried over the years to get this thing done, but things are gradually changing. People are becoming more aggressive. And this is the mandate given to FRSC. Whatever it takes to get it right, all of us must be involved. Lives are being lost on a daily basis. 21. Just like that. Something better will have been happening. If we say, don't move at night, and the men are able to operate at night, they will have been able to stop those vehicles from moving thousands of kilometers through the night. How would driver not be tired? So enforcement is not just talking
So when you have arms, you function at night?
Certainly. Are we not functioning at night? We operate 24 hours. Even now, this Salah period, our men are on ground 24 hours. Have you not been seeing us doing rescue at night? Do you know what those men pass through, walking through the night under danger to go and rescue people? At night, they are doing their rescue. People come around to attack them. Are we thinking about that?
All right. We have to end this conversation here.
It's becoming quite emotional for FRSC officials. I mean, it's a
perhaps
risky job to be in the FRSC.
We'll have another time to talk more about it. Shegun Ogunbemide.
Thank you very much.
Core Public Education Officer, Federal Road Safety Corps. Thank you very much for your time and the insights.
I appreciate that.
All right. So that's our package this Tuesday. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ian Ray John. Live locked on the NTA.
And I'm Victor Azu. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.